All right, there she is. Yes. Hey,
Hello.
you got my shirt. You got your shirt on. Yes.
Yes, I have my awesome Much Too Vulgar movie shirt.
Very cool. You know what? I did one in yellow and I did one in red, so I'm gonna send you the red one. So the idea is we're gonna have like different colors stuff.
Yes, yeah. We
You
have a
know,
code story. I'm here for it.
awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining. And today we are talking about franchises, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
What's your favorite horror franchise?
There are so many good ones. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Scream. I loved the first Scream. I think most of us did. But then I will admit that I have seen a lot of the first of the franchise, maybe the second. But once we get into like the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, I kind of fall off a little bit. But I'm going to go with Scream for this one. What about you?
Yeah, I have to agree. And I think my daughter hooked me in on Scream and the TV series. There's something about that storyline that's addictive. And I think it's because they poke fun at horror films,
Hmm.
and when like in Scream when they had the movie within the movie, and they're saying, don't go down the stairs by yourself or don't trust, all the rules. It was just like so tongue in cheek because we all know the rules
Yes.
from watching these movies. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, like meta. I liked that a lot too.
Right. Yeah. What do you think about the Halloween series?
I
Franchise, rather.
mm, I liked the first one. Um, After that, I don't know. Halloween was never as big for me as some of the others. I thought it was a little bit slow, but like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street, the original one, it is still scary if you watch it now. It holds up very, very well.
I have to agree with that. I really do. And it's interesting how you have some of these older horror films that still stand the test of time, but then you have some that you're like, what the heck was that? And it's just really interesting. But, I was mentioning earlier, just to make a movie really takes an act of God. It's just, there's so many logistics and so many hoops you have to jump through, and so when you get it done, this truly a miracle. And
But we're
so,
going to be miracle workers here.
yes, we are. And because we have much too vulgar, and that is the more I work on it, the more I dive into it, the more I love it. I'm becoming a Keely Rex Roth fan. And I think that needs to be a shirt. I really do.
Yeah, all the shirts. I posted this and everybody was like, great merch. Like, where can I get it? I'm like, ooh, that's something we should think about.
Yes. All right. So much too vulgar. Can you see it as a franchise? Now let's start visualizing here.
Yes, I absolutely can. For the people who are watching, this is an open secret, but I will be writing the sequel to Much Too Vulgar. Probably going to start that later this year for it to come out next year. So I definitely want to follow Keely. I think she's a very interesting character, and one of my favorite things about being an author is to understand my characters and how they got to be the way that they are. I think that's the most interesting thing. Why are they like this? What drives them? Not just what do they do, but why?
So if you could compare it to a franchise, which franchise would come closest to Keely and her story?
I would probably say Ty West's Maxine Pearl XXX trilogy. I see that Mia Goth did a great job with that character, and she's so unhinged, and you don't know what she's going to do, and but you also get to see some of why she is that way, and I think it's very loud and in your face, and I loved that.
That's so awesome. All right, that there was one of them I did not see. I think it was Triple X. I did not see Triple X yet. So, of the three, which one was your favorite?
Pearl.
Pearl. Okay. All right.
It was so
Yeah.
like I had my jaw on the floor for most of that because I was like, is she really gonna do that? Is she really gonna do that? And that's what I loved about it because I never knew what to expect.
And that to me is the best horror when it's unexpected, when you can't, say, oh, that's going to happen, and you don't. And I think that's one thing I love about Much Too Vulgar is you have these twists and turns that you really don't expect, which is exciting. All
Yeah.
right. So going back to franchises, I mean, no one really thought these movies would become franchise, like Friday the 13th and Halloween even. Do you think each show or each movie is like a duplicate of the original, just slightly different, or do you think
Yeah,
it's
some of
different?
them definitely are. Some of them it's the same story but in space or in hell or they just change the setting. But some of them do have some original aspects of them. Another one I want to bring in is the Evil Dead franchise. The second one is very similar to the first, but Army of Darkness, the third one, is totally different. And I love that, first of all, they use practical effects. I think that's what helps a lot of these stand the test of time, is because we're not like, oh, that's really bad computer imagery. We're like, wow, that's a really good practical effect. So I think that helps them stand the test of time. And building on the story, I think some of the most successful franchises show you what happens later, not just reiterate what happened before.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so but do you think something like Much Too Vulgar, say no, say we we're gonna make the movie. That's gonna happen, without a doubt. But when we go to make part two, because that's gonna happen, of course it is. Would you like to see it completely different, but just like a story, her story, like in a different space? Or because I feel like Scream, they kind of like do the same thing over and over again, but they introduce like new characters. What do you think? How would you envision it?
Well, having not written the sequel yet, but I kind of know what direction it's going. It's the same Keeley, but it is a different story, and it builds on her character and shows her evolution. I mean, this is way in the future, but I could see myself writing her at different periods in her life for a long time, because somebody like her doesn't just stop what they're doing. They don't just become a different person. They just evolve over time into something potentially way scarier than where they started. And she started pretty scary.
Oh, that's so.
Oh no. Your sound cut out. Can you hear me? Oh no.
Are there?
There you
Okay.
are. There you
Okay. All right. Cell phones, I don't know. Smartphones, I don't know. Anyway, now I forgot what I said. Okay, I was like, work, phone, work.
It looks like a really good point.
Anyway, so it's I could see her going a lot of different places, but do you see her evolving in her? I don't really want to say insanity, even though
Yeah.
it's like she sees herself doing good work. She's
Yeah. I
right.
don't think she's insane. And I don't think she's a psychopath. I don't think she's a sociopath. I think she's somebody who's very disturbed and damaged and has let her trauma shape her. And she has a lot of self righteousness and thinks that, she's the best. And so whatever she does is in service of being the best. So I see her evolving into. I'm not really sure yet. I think she's a very interesting character. I think as she matures, that could be a good thing for everybody around her, or it could be a terrible thing. I'm not sure yet.
Well, I kind of hope it's a terrible thing for everyone around her.
Right? Horror, of course, it's going to be terrible.
Right. Well, all right. So if you could see her in a franchise, Friday the 13th, Halloween, any of them, take your pick. Which one would you see her being in?
Hmm. I think if she were in the Scream franchise, she would have clocked who the killer was right away and just gone and killed them herself. It would have been a very short movie.
Do you think she would have become Ghostface herself? Or put,
I don't think she would have. I think that's too much exposure for her. She likes to work in the shadows when she does, the dirty deeds. But yeah, I think that'd be funny to see how she would react to that. She'd be like, "What is going on? This is ridiculous."
well, I know some people are really into crossover, so I always kind of like to say, well,
Mhm.
what if? Can you imagine? Do you see her ever being in New York or a big city?
Yeah, I can tell you that as of right now, the next place she's going will be Atlanta. So she is going to be in a big city, and then from there, I am not sure where she goes after that.
Okay. Can we get her in Savannah?
We probably could. I think
Okay.
she may take a trip here. Yeah, for sure. I mean, if anybody has read A Veritable Household Pet, which is my book that came out in January, it is in the Much Too Vulgar universe, and we get to see. I'll call it a prequel for Much Too Vulgar. I don't want to give away too many spoilers.
Right. Okay. That would make a really interesting film too. But I'm
It'd be
just,
hard, I
you know,
think.
I, well, there's a will, there's a way. And I
Sure.
think, with the MTV universe, because the way it could really go with like TV and film and possibly even, micro dramas. There are lots of possibilities. So I would not rule it out. It is.
I don't rule anything out.
Right, and especially with the lobotomy, you don't really see that in movies right now.
You don't. I mean, even when I was looking up to see, is there anything like this? There are very few movies that have anything to do with lobotomy. And a lot of things, and in books too, what I've noticed, and I know we're kind of getting off topic here, a lot of the horror comes from, oh my gosh, are they going to get the lobotomy? And then at the last minute they get saved. So my book was very different in that, nope, she just gets the lobotomy right away and now we have to deal with it.
That's kind of cool. That you just kind of like jump right in with that. That I think that would make a really interesting movie. Anyway,
I
that's
think
we
it would,
yeah.
but avoiding voiceovers would be one of our biggest challenges since we're trying to avoid mostly all voiceovers and much too vulgar, and that's been a really fun creative challenge, honestly.
Well, I like voiceovers. I know some people are. I think it's a bigger exercise as a creative to not have it. Um, and and then you really have to. I think it's well. I like both because then you see a lot of movies that have it and it works. You know.
When it works really
Yeah.
well, and when it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think the way the direction we're going in, it works without it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really happy with the direction it's going in. It's really exciting. And I can't it's such a journey, because we've been talking now for over a year, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just the way it starts. Well, and then you writing the book, you coming up with the idea, everything that took you to get it done, the editing, the editor, publishing, just the whole step. That how much time does that take you just to do that?
2 years, something like that. My cycles of writing and publishing are faster now, but for that one, I wrote it, I let it sit for a while, I edited it, I queried it for a while to see if it could be published traditionally, and then I was like, I'm just going to do this myself. So yeah, about 2 years from when I started writing to when that got published.
And it's a process. And now you have your fifth book coming out this month,
Fifth
right?
of Mill 2, July 29th.
That's so awesome. I'm so excited for you. And people can find it on your website
Yep.
or on Amazon, right?
Everywhere
Okay.
books are sold.
Okay, so people, you have to buy this book, ripped up the middle too. The title itself gives me the chills.
I have a
Have
hard cover here.
That's so awesome. That's so very cool. And another one that could very well be a movie as well. I know we have to get the first one done. Get the
I
first
know,
one we
but that
can.
that one would probably be my pick for the next one. It's very cinematic.
Oh, do you find any ties at all to Keeley or her universe?
Not directly, but that's not to say that they won't come later.
Okay, all right, I like that. That's
Mhm.
that's very cool. Do you see that one having a franchise?
That one
So-
probably not.
okay.
One of the reasons I think franchises in general work so well, and I know we're talking about, creepy kids and teens, is when you have that younger audience and that younger cast. I think it's so much fun to watch them grow. I mean, you see that in the Scream franchise. You see that in Halloween, Laurie Strode as she ages throughout the years and is still dealing with these different things. And I think that definitely also attracts that younger Gen Z audience. So I think something like Much Too Vulgar, where almost the entire cast is college age kids, has very good franchise potential. Just putting that out there.
I agree. I would have to agree. All right. Well, you're right. Talking about creepy kids. I got us off track. My apologies. But all right, going back to creepy kids, what do you think is the appeal with why people like that?
Because kids are not supposed to be creepy. Kids are supposed to be innocent and funny and sweet, maybe mischievous, but ones that are really creepy. I mean, think about, the kid who's drawing creepy pictures or the one who says they see ghosts in the room, because we think of kids as, not being able to lie like that or make up stories like that. And so when it comes from them, it just seems they're tapping into something totally different and totally otherworldly. So, and even like Damien in the Omen, he's not supposed to be evil and yet he is. So I think it's that juxtaposition of something that shouldn't be evil at all with, it's definitely creepy. Something wrong is there. Something there is very wrong.
That is interesting that how that happens. Okay, like Friday the 13th, the first one, Jason, but he actually wasn't the killer.
Right.
Right. So that was like the twist on that. So you kind of feel sorry for him knowing that he wasn't actually the killer, but he really wasn't around, but he kind of got blamed for everything, right?
Yeah, I think
Money.
in the later movies, I think he is the killer because
Right.
his mom gets killed at the end of that movie. And
Well,
then he comes out of the canoe in one of the best jump scares at the end.
right. But isn't it funny how they like die like all the time and they keep coming back to life?
Yeah, I mean, they're supernatural. I think almost all of them are at least semi-supernatural, except for maybe Scream. I feel like they get new killers every time, but for like Nightmare on Elm Street, definitely supernatural.
Okay, you saw Scream 7, right?
I have not seen Scream 7
Okay.
yet.
All right, there. Okay, I saw it with my daughter. This a ghost face because there's always more than one, right? He gets slammed by a car, and it did like a John Wick theme. I don't know if you saw John Wick, that last one where he's like gets beat up and slammed and smashed over, and he keeps getting up and he keeps fighting, and then he gets, he falls down 3 flights of stairs. He gets up. It's like, so he's keep, like the old cartoons. Well, you probably don't
Yeah, very
remember.
slap.
Right. No, but he keeps and so you see Ghostface get smashed by this huge SUV, and then next thing he's gone, and then next thing you know, he's like trying to kill the person, and I'm like, wait a minute, he just got hit by a car. It's just, and it's kind of funny when they start doing these sort of things.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean that's where something like Scary Movie. I love the Scary Movie franchise because they make fun of some of these movies that are very much ripe for making fun of, and they have a lot of stuff like that in there. Riffing on, okay, you just can't seem to kill this guy, or how ridiculous things are, and that also has a relatively younger cast, and I think that's hilarious.
all right, I can you see anything in Much Too Vulgar being made fun of, like, in a scary movie type in that franchise?
Yes, I would say Keeley's experiments in the tunnels. I think when you're trying to make fun of something, take the darkest thing and make it light. So I would say one of the darkest things she does is her parabiosis experiments in the tunnels. I think that could be a really funny parody. I really
Right.
do.
That would actually, I think, make a great Saturday Night Live skit too.
Yes,
Right. That could be a lot of fun. I mean, there's just so many elements in Much Too Vulgar that are just so cinematic. And it would be great to actually see it, well, when we have it made, and then just see how people respond to it. And, kind of like going back to Obsession, how we're seeing so many clips from the movie now,
yeah.
people talking about it. It's kind of cool. And I can see that happening with Much Too Vulgar.
I think so too. I think we're gonna have a lot of memes come out of it. I hope. I mean, there's so many obsession memes, just the different faces she made and how expressive she was. I would love to see some of that with Much Too Vulgar.
That would be awesome. All right, so do you think Keely herself falls into the creepy kid
Hmm.
category?
Probably. I mean, in the book, and I think in the movie a little bit too, we get flashbacks of what she was like as a child. So I think it was very much a nature and nurture situation where her nurturing environment was not very good at all. And so it kind of forced her to become a little bit of a creepy kid who then became a creepy young adult.
But you still like her, right?
No, you're still rooting for her. That's the weird thing. Because then you want
Right?
to see what she does next. It's like anybody who watched Dexter. You don't want him to get caught. You're rooting for him because you want to see what he does next. And I think Keeley is very much a character like that as well.
And I think Keely, even though we see this arc in her story, I think she's a really pretty girl. It's like, it's like she doesn't see herself as really pretty, but I kind of really see her as like this really pretty young lady, even though she'd probably hate the term lady,
Yeah.
but I just really see, especially when she like polishes herself up, and like gets cleaned up. I'm like, ooh, that could be a really cool moment.
That could be cool. It's like those movies where, the girls take off their glasses and now they're beautiful. It's like when she gets nasty and she's not brushing her teeth and she's not brushing her hair, she looks a little rough. But yeah, I could see it once she cleans herself up, okay, okay.
All right, yeah,
Or like the daughter her mother wanted.
but yeah. I mean, I think that could be a lot of fun playing with that. That could definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So, what other movie would you say had a really creepy kid in one of these franchises?
Hmm. Not a franchise, but one that comes to mind is The Others with Nicole Kidman.
Ah,
There were
I
some
love it.
terrifying children in that. And I mean, I still have images of that stuck in my head where I'm just like, no, please don't look what's going on there. Let's just walk away. And then obviously The Omen, that has some really creepy kids in it, a creepy kid. I also see like a lot of teens too. I know when people say creepy kids, we think little kids, and yes,
Right.
they're creepy, but I would include teens in there too.
A movie I really liked, Let Me In, the
Yep.
American version. That, I mean, Chloe Grace Marquez, she was amazing. And she, as the little vampire,
Yeah, no,
um,
that was a good one. And that was very creepy because again, she looked so innocent. And
mhm.
we don't want to think that anything that looks innocent could actually be evil. I think that's one of the creepiest things is that dichotomy between what we see and what we expect and then what's real.
Yeah, we do a lot of that, don't we? In
Mhm.
this world
Yeah.
right now.
I mean, that's how Keely gets by with a lot because they think, "Oh, you're just a college girl. You don't look scary. So therefore you can't be scary." And then it's way more terrifying when no, she's the thing you should be scared of.
Yeah. So, at what age do you think is the cutoff for a creepy kid?
I don't know, like 20,
Oh,
18. I don't know. I would say creepy kid cutoff is probably like 11, and then creepy young adult cutoff is like 20.
all right, cool. All
Or,
right, I think we're getting some messages. See, I really need to get contacts. Super duper, thank you so much. Oop, okay, all right. Well, thank you, people, for joining here. This is kind of cool. All good now. All right, cool. Yes, I agree, but to a certain degree. All right. Well, I can't pronounce that name, but we would love to hear more. Ripped at the middle in two. Yes, 729. All right. Someone's going to be checking that out. Congratulations. Hey there. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining. I appreciate that. This is
you
cool.
know,
So just think, before you know it, we'll be having this as a film. We'll be seeing it on the big screen. Be streaming. It's going to go by so fast, and we'll be working on another book. But and it's just this process, and it's really awesome. All right, so I know creepy kids. I know keep going back to the movie. All right, what other creepy kids in a franchise then? That doesn't really. I mean, because we go with teenagers, because people seem to like to watch teenagers get slashed,
yeah, it's true.
right?
It's your teenagers and young adults. Yeah, I feel like well, Children of the Corn, creepy kids, and there are a couple of sequels. I heard that they weren't very good, but the original Children of the Corn, those are some creepy kids, and a lot of people hated on that movie, but I thought it was hilarious.
Was that Stephen King?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
it's
Yeah.
like it's a great movie in my opinion, but I
Uh,
like campy movies. It's very campy.
okay. All right. I don't remember. Oh, I did see that. Yeah, I remember that one. Okay. That was a little campy, but creepy.
Yeah.
Definitely creepy. All right. What about Chucky?
Oh,
Does
yeah.
does he count as a creepy kid? Because technically he's a puppet, but he's like a kid puppet,
But
right?
but he's like, well, he's an adult serial killer trapped in a kid puppet body.
That's creepy.
That is very creepy. Yeah, Chucky. Yeah, Chucky. I wouldn't. I don't know if I call him a creepy kid, but definitely creepy in something that shouldn't be creepy.
Yeah. I
Same
see.
idea.
Okay. People loved Chucky though. It
I do like
was
that franchise.
scary and funny, and because he had edge, that's for
Definitely
sure.
had some edge, and he was funny. And I think as they got later in the franchise, they really leaned into the camp and kind of making fun of themselves because it was so ridiculous.
And then they had the Bride of Chucky.
Yes, the Bride
Yeah.
of Chucky, and I think he had a
Yeah.
son at some point. I mean, yeah, they really went all off with that.
Well, yeah. It seems like it's okay to be outrageous with horror films, right?
Yeah, that's the fun part. I feel like that's another thing about franchises. As they keep going, they get more and more ridiculous. I mean, the first one kind of scary, the one after that not as scary, and then before you know it, they're in space or doing something ridiculous. Oh, and we have a commenter that said, "What about Jigsaw?" Yes, the Saw franchise is another great one. I don't know if there are that many like teens or kids in that one. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen all of the films, but that
Um,
is a good franchise that I think has maintained being scary and gruesome
all
and not
throughout.
yeah,
The first one was really ingenious.
yeah.
You never really, I had never seen anything like that.
Me neither.
Um, and it was just like, wow. And that was just such a simple story, if you will.
Mhm.
That was really cool. All right, Terrifier. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen any Terrifier, and everybody's talking about it, but I just have not dipped into that franchise yet. Have you?
No, it's about the clown.
Yeah,
The scary clown. It's like that just, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
I could do it. I just haven't done it yet. So
Okay.
I'll add that to my list. I mean, I love Pennywise, so I feel like that's kind of
Mhm.
in the same vein.
Right. Okay. All right. And that's probably going to be, well, that is a franchise. I think they're on Terrifier
Yeah.
3 now or
3 or
4.
4. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. People seem to like it. So it sounds good. But it's just interesting when you see these kids go awry, and they become like the serial killer, or they get twisted, and what are they capable of next?
Yeah.
So it's like, huh.
Hmm.
Interesting. But I kind of like how horror films kind of evolved. It's one thing I really like, but Much Too Vulgar. It's not your typical horror film. Because when you think of horror, you think like, Nightmare or Friday the 13th. Um, but this one is like dark academia. She's really smart. She's, manipulative. She sees opportunities before someone else was, kind of put things together. It's like psychological, and it just kind of takes you in this like deep tunnel, if you will.
Yeah.
And literally she goes
Literally.
into tunnel.
Yeah.
So do you what do you think of that kind of horror, that dark psychological horror? Well,
I really love.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Obsession is one example I think of that. Backrooms also a little bit. I feel like a lot of the horror that we're seeing now that really hits it out of the park is more psychological. That's not to say there isn't a monster, because sometimes there is, but the biggest monster is always in your head. And I think Dark Academia is also really having a moment, and I'm excited to see the two combined. I cannot wait to see this on the big screen, because I see it in my head one way when I wrote it, but as we're working on the screenplay, I'm imagining what it's going to look like, and it's going to be amazing. I'm so excited.
So a lot of people aren't really familiar with what dark academia is. Do you want to share what that is?
Well, to
Or,
me, that just means takes place usually at a college or a university in an academic environment, but it shows the dark side. We're not all partying and going to, participating in Greek life and stuff like that. This is the darker side, the hidden underbelly, the things that people don't talk about. And I think that has some allure, because there's also all these things that people shouldn't learn about, but you want to. So I think there's also that lure of the hidden knowledge, the forbidden knowledge, that also makes dark academia really dark.
and the tunnels. I just love the tunnels there at Georgetown. That's like so perfect. That
Yeah, I
um
do worry that after this comes out, Georgetown's going to be like, why did you tell everybody how to get down here?
well, lock the doors. There's a cemetery right next to this school too, the
Yeah,
Jesuit
right
cemetery.
in the middle of
Like,
campus.
so it's like right there.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like right there.
all right, so there's Healy Hall. Where is it compared to Healy Hall?
It is behind it, not directly behind it, but it is behind it, kind of
Oh,
literally smack in the middle of campus, behind like the football field.
oh, wow. Okay, is it pretty big or small?
Nothing at Georgetown is super large because it's such a small campus, but it's a good chunk of real estate, and it's all Jesuits.
Wow, that is good. That's kind of creepy.
It is,
Yeah.
when you're in school there and you're just walking past it every day, you don't even think about it. But looking
Oh.
back, like, yeah, that's pretty creepy, right in the middle of campus.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so maybe Erica really did see a ghost. All right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
possible. Georgetown is definitely haunted, for sure.
Wow. Well, and then the different levels and the floors and the locked rooms, and
Mhm.
then all kinds of juicy stories, which is exciting. All right, so I know we said we'd only do 20 minutes. We went a little over, which is kind of fun. I just love Much Too Vulgar so much, and talking about these other franchises is really cool. And there are just so many types of horror movies out there. I think Much Too Vulgar is really going to be amazing. It just has so much to it. All right, so we are going to end this, but we're going to be back in 2 weeks. I know, talking about creepy kids, Keely, creepy kid, not creepy kid. I don't know. I think she's kind of a cool kid in a creepy way.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Yep.
All right, cool. Awesome. So everyone check out Ripped Up the Middle in Two, ViggyHampton.com, and Google it, find it, buy it, love it. That's going to be really awesome. Same thing with Much Too Vulgar. Yes, it's
Yay.
also on our website. Take a gander. If anyone out there has read it and wants to talk about it, feel free to let us know. We'll get you on, join us. We'll just keep rocking it, because before you know it, you're going to see it on the big screen. Yes.
Yay!
It's like awesome. All right, Viggy, thank you so much. And thanks, guys, for joining. And we will talk to you in 2 weeks. Wait, what are we talking about in 2 weeks? We were talking about.
We could talk about Ripped Up the Middle in two because that's going to be right after my publication.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, and we're doing a poll right now, right?
Yes,
Or
about what people really want to see when a novel is adapted into a movie. What matters
okay.
most?
Okay. Getting it done.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Viggy. And I will talk to you again real soon. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.
Bye.